type of headline we think we'll be seeing a lot more of, and there may be benefits to this, but we'll also give you our concerns. Essentially, New Zealand is gutting their public sector and replacing people with AI. This is from news.com.au. New Zealand has launched one of the most aggressive public sector shake-ups seen anywhere this year, but sentiments are deeply divided. You don't say. It says New Zealand has launched one of the most aggressive public sector shake-ups seen anywhere in the developed world this year, announcing plans to slash nearly 9,000 government jobs by 2029. The coalition government says the reforms will save roughly 2.4 billion New Zealand dollars, meaning about 1.97 billion Australian, and reduce the size of the public service by about 14% over the next 3 years. There are currently just over 63,000 full-time public servants across the country, down slightly from a recent peak of roughly 65,000. Supporters of the cuts say the announcement reflects growing frustration across Western economies about expanding bureaucracies, slowing productivity, and governments that appear to grow regardless of economic conditions. Like AI isn't going to make the bureaucracy worse. Oliver Hartwich, Executive Director of the New Zealand Initiative, told Radio New Zealand the government was finally confronting a public sector that had become far too sprawling. Okay, the substance of the announcement is precisely right. We have public service that is way too complicated. We have 43 government departments and ministries. We have 82 ministerial portfolios, and there is simply too much duplication in the system. He's right, by the way, but we'll talk about this more in a moment. Mr. Hartwich argued the cuts should eventually go even further, and they will, calling for major simplification of government structures themselves. In the end, the principle should be, as in practically every other country, there should be one minister with one ministerial portfolio responsible for one government department, he said. But the reforms have immediately ignited fears that governments are beginning to oversell AI as a catch-all replacement for human work before the technology is anywhere near capable of taking over core public services. National Secretary of the Public Service Association, Dwayne Leo, described the cuts as an act of willful destruction and accused ministers of using artificial intelligence as a political cover for mass redundancies. You can't automate a social worker visiting a vulnerable child. You cannot replace a biosecurity officer inspecting cargo at the border with a chatbot, Mr. Leo said. It's not genuine in terms of improving services. He also warned the reforms risked creating chaos, distressed as strategy. Even some AI researchers appear uncomfortable with the speed at which governments are beginning to normalise the idea that the technology is a substitute for public workers. Andrew Lenson, a senior lecturer in AI at the Victoria University of Wellington, said there was no way AI could replace thousands of public servants in its current form. If we want to use AI in the public sector, then we have to do some really good investigations into how to use it and do some good testing. We can't simply drop it in and hope it solves our issues, he told RNZ. So we're just going to show you the little seed planting going on here as well. The debate unfolding across the Tasman has also thrown fresh attention onto Australia's own increasingly uneasy relationship with public sector growth. A viral chart published by news magazine The Economist recently triggered outrage online after appearing to show Australia had the largest public sector workforce in the developed world, with 143 government workers per 1,000 people. But economists immediately hit back, saying, oh, but you haven't considered all of this stuff. The figures relied on unusually broad data from the International Labour Organization that counted not only bureaucrats, but also state-owned enterprises and some government-funded sectors. So there's a bit of a debate there going, but we wanted to show you the seed planting in particular. The argument they've presented is it's not just government, it's also everything else the government does, e.g. state-owned media. Hello, that's called government, aka public sector. Title it what you will, it's either government or government related, and it's bloated beyond belief. So first, let's discuss the positives. Governments and bureaucracies all over the West are extremely bloated. That is a fact. They're also too large, too complicated, dealing with them is almost always a nightmare, and they are not efficient. In fact, the common complaint is they're completely inefficient. They take weeks, sometimes months to do anything, but you have mere moments to fulfill your obligations to them or else. Cutting that down and streamlining it would of course be a thing everyone would want. But that's not what they're doing here. Their answer is not to strip the departments to a nice, lean, efficient operation. It is to install AI so it remains as ever so complicated, and now we'll also have a machine telling us what to do rather than some overpaid, underskilled individual. And as we know with machines, the parameters are set. You think computer says no is bad now? Imagine when it's only the computer you get to talk to. No recourse, no human oversight, just you and the machine that has been programmed to do exactly what power-hungry governments who are pushing a digital dystopia want them to do. If they're unable right now to fix the problems with government, with the existing leaders and minds serving in it, what makes us think that those problems will be fixed by the same people exercising their unlimited power through AI? It's simply going to make everything more difficult, and that's the point, by the way. You didn't pay your taxes on this exact due date due to an issue like a bank outage, for example. Too bad. AI says you had to pay it yesterday and you now have a penalty, and there's no one to talk to about a very real reason you didn't do it in time. And how long before the AI bureaucracy spills over into the judicial, by the way? And you have this same issue and you wish to have your day in court. Well, that same AI will tell you court's not necessary because I'm also the court and I've assessed all the facts and you're guilty. Those in the article making the argument that we're simply not ready for this level of replacement because AI isn't quite there yet or not ready yet are completely missing the point. Society will never be ready for an AI takeover because it is a takeover. It is handing over human judgment, discernment, emotion, discretion, compassion, and understanding, all of the things that make society bearable, to rigid machines that, while they will argue have the capacity to not be rigid, will be programmed to be rigid. That is the point of AI and those behind it, giving over human sovereignty to machines they claim are smarter than us and can do things better than us. Really? Grok, the maximally truth-seeking AI, still says the COVID shots are safe and effective. What kind of society do these people really think we're going to have with that nightmare at the helm? Nonetheless, it seems the New Zealand government is confident that they'll be able to do this by 2029, which means those at the very top might think it's possible even before then, successfully meeting their KPI for the year 2030. To be clear, there is nothing positive about this. What is being proposed in New Zealand is a sort of formal, soft reveal of what is happening across the entire world at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's what the data centers are for. That's what AI is for. It is all for rule by technocracy, a more powerful dictatorship than has ever existed in the history of mankind. And to illustrate how serious this is, there is no legislative process here. The people are not involved. It's a decision to replace government with AI by decree with zero say of the governed. But what does detach us somewhat from these decisions that they're making is our opposition to digital ID, programmable digital currencies, things like this. We can't stop the government from sacking thousands of people to replace them with AI. But we can refuse digital IDs, we can refuse CBDCs. There is a legislative process for that, which means their AI becomes obsolete for your interaction with government systems and processes. They can keep building their dystopian hellscape, and we can simply say no to interacting with it.